Moving on to stanza 3. And if at times a gleam more mild would o'er his features stray, when knelt the widow near her child, and he tried with her to pray, it lasted not, for visions wild still scared good thoughts away. So sometimes his mother would convince him to try and pray with her. The widow being the mother near her child, and he tried with her to pray, but he could not. It did not last. The visions in his mind were too wild, too horrific, and still scared any good thoughts, like prayers, scared good thoughts away. Stanza 4. There's blood upon my hands, he said, which water cannot wash. It was not shed where warriors bled, it dropped from the gory lash. As I whirled it o'er and o'er my head, and with each stroke left a gash. O'er and o'er over, the archaic English used there. There's blood upon my hands, he said. We have, most of us, heard the expression, blood on your hands, when you commit murder. Metaphorically, you have blood on your hands that will never be able to be washed away, which water cannot wash, alliteration, to draw our attention to the fact that nothing can take away what he has done. It was not shed where warriors bled, it dropped from the gory lash. So the contrast in these two lines, 21 and 22, he did not kill people in wars. He beat helpless, tied up people, and this is what haunts him. He did not commit murders on the battlefield and in an honorable way, but rather in a terrible, beastly way. As I whirled it over and over my head, you can see the image there of the whip being whirled over his head, and with each stroke left a gash. And in the next stanza we'll see it starts with that same line, with each stroke I left a gash. That repetition emphasizing how he beat these people over and over and over, leaving wounds and deep cuts on their bodies. Also an example of hyperbole in this stanza. Nothing he does will ever wash away the blood from his conscience. So at the start of stanza 5, we see the repetition that comes from the previous stanza. With every stroke I left a gash, while Negro blood sprang high. And now all ocean cannot wash my soul from murder's dye, nor e'en thy prayer, dear mother, quash that woman's wild death cry. With every stroke I left a gash, once again giving us that image of him beating the slave. The third character, if we shall call it that, in this poem, the first being the mother and her son, the slave dealer, and now a slave woman who was beaten so badly by him that she died. He will forever remember the gashes he left on her body. Negro blood sprang high. Strong imagery here, brutal images, and now all ocean cannot wash. Once again, that hyperbole. All of the ocean cannot wash away my sins. My soul from murder's dye. Murder's dye being the blood. The blood has colored him. It has dyed his soul. and it will never be returned to its original state. Nor e'en thy prayer, dear mother, quash. Quash means to cancel that woman's wild death cry. Stanza 6. Her cry is ever in my ear, and it will not let me pray. Her look I see, her voice I hear, as when in death she lay, and said, with me thou must appear on God's great judgment day. Once again, hyperbole. Her cry is ever in my ear. He always hears her screams, and this is what keeps him from praying. Once again, the repetition, the reference to praying and not being able to pray. Her look I see, her voice I hear, an image of the guilt that haunts him. As when in death she lay, here we are told that she died, and said, with me thou must appear on God's great judgment day. That's when he realized he will have to account for his actions. Stanza 7. Now Christ from frenzy keep my son, the woeful widow cried. Such murder foul thou ne'er hast done, some fiend thy soul belied. Nay, mother, the avenging one was witness when she died. Line 38, alliteration. The woeful widow cried. The mother is asking Christ to keep her son from insanity and hysteria and madness. The soft W sound in line 38 mimics the mother's sadness and weeping for her son. Woeful also meaning sad, miserable, unhappy. Such murder foul thou ne'er hast done, some fiend thy soul belied. You had to have this evil spirit in your soul to be able to commit these murders. He says, no, mother, the avenging one was witness when she died. Who do you think this avenging one is when you look at the capital letters? And he was witness. Who is witness to all of our deeds? Last stanza. The writhing wretch with furious heel I crushed, no mortal nigh. But that same hour her dread appeal was registered on high. And now with God I have to deal, and dare not meet his eye. So this final very powerful image in stanza 8, the writhing wretch with furious heel, alliteration of the W R sound, which hardens the movement to show us how she tried to free herself, this woman that he was beating and eventually killed. She was twisting in pain. Personification of the furious heel. The heel is given a human ability of fury, showing us the brutality of this action. The image is of a desperate woman trying to save herself. I crushed her, I killed her. No mortal nigh. Nigh meaning almost or nearly. But that same hour, her dread appeal was registered on high. She was almost or nearly dead, and already was her appeal registered in the heavens. And now, with God, I have to deal and dare not meet his eye. Can we ever hide from God? No, we cannot. Going back to stanza 7, the avenging one. If you thought about it a bit, one of God's angels witnessing the event. He cannot hide this. cannot hide what he has done, and he will have to account for his deeds. There we go. If you have any questions, or if you want this PDF sent to you, please send me a message.